But Sean, let's go into it as we do each and every week. We look at the NFL picture. We look at the top 10, the bottom five in the National
Sure.
Football League. We will start with the bottom fives. I'll give Mike's and EJ's, and then we'll do yours and mine. EJ has the Texans 28, Dolphins 29, Titans 30, Giants 31, Saints 32. Mike has Texans, Titans, Giants, Dolphins, and Saints. So, Sean, who is your bottom five this week?
Well, I have at the very bottom, it seems like I'm on board so far with the New Orleans Aints. I have them down at 32. I have the Titans at 31, second worst. Dolphins right behind them, so some recurring themes. The New York Giants make my list at 29, and at 28, knowing full well that there are a few other teams, one of which is probably in their division, I have the Atlanta Falcons, because I thought that a 30-0 dismantling by a team that I had on my bottom five last week, I mean, how abysmal, like to it, like we just talked about, to have beaten
not great, Bob,
the Vikings, but they were injuries, and then you know, this is a game that this shouldn't even be a discussion game. They couldn't do anything.
No.
And so I have them down there. This is a warning shot for the Falcons. Get your heads out of your butts, or you're going to stay here. But that's my bottom five.
Yeah. So my bottom five, much like everybody else, Saints at 32. I have the Titans at 31. Giants at 30. Dolphins, they moved up. They moved up a couple spots to 29. Still not a good team, but you almost beat the Bills. You move up. And I have my Dallas Cowboys at 28. Look,
Old strategy, Cotton.
You're a 66-yard field goal away from being 0-3.
Yeah.
You looked competent against the defending Super Bowl champions. Your defense did not look anything close to competent against the Giants. You made Russell Wilson, who's now not a starting quarterback for that very team, 1 week later.
Well, and I think we're at a point now where whether it's this bottom five or the top 10, the thing I'm starting to notice is like we're at a point where like we're getting some data that we're starting, especially after this coming week. I think you can start to stop looking at week one. You know, week one, like we talked about after week one, it's one of those like, let's just survive, right? Nobody's played. Our coordinators, all the coaches are new. Like everybody's trying to figure out how to play. And so it becomes very sloppy. You wind up with teams that normally would dismantle a team that end up in a close game. You have teams that, go the other way, that like find themselves in a close game but have never been there because they're terrible. And it just becomes a real weird one to kind of base stats or base anything off of. So I think we're starting to see some data. The top 10 felt a little easier this week to put together. So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of question marks, but we're starting to put it together, especially when we're geniuses like you and I.
Well, exactly. But yeah, Dallas, the defense is just embarrassingly bad. And now you're without CeeDee Lamb for at least about 2 to 3 weeks. So like the offense, which would look creative the first couple of weeks. You're now your wide receivers are Pickens, Tolbert, Turpin. It's bad. It's just bad.
They're going to find the Jadeveon Clowney of wide receivers out there. They're going to go sign.
Maybe. What's Wes Welker doing? It's bad, man. And here's the problem: you're 1-2, and now you have Green Bay coming to town on Sunday. Then you have Carolina. Like, this is supposed to be your easy stretch. We've talked about it a couple of times on this show this year. The back half of the Cowboys schedule is infinitely harder. Like, if you're going to want any shot at 500 or a freak wild card, this is the stretch you have to do it in. And there is nothing about this team that says they're going to be anywhere close to eight or 9 wins. It's really bad. So, that's the bottom five. Looking at the top 10, I have EJ. We'll start at 10, work to 1. Niners, Colts, Rams, Ravens, Lions, Packers, Buccaneers, Chargers, Bills, and Eagles at 1. Mike has Vikings, 49ers, Packers, Ravens, Buccaneers, Colts, And then his top 4: Lions, Chargers, Eagles, and Bills. Sean, what is your top 10 this week?
Well, at number 10, I have my who I feel is probably should be at the top of the NFC West. So I have them in without the other. I have the Seahawks in at number 10. Then I have the Minnesota Vikings. I have I still have the Rams despite the loss. I feel they still belong here. Packers have fallen quite a ways here, but they sit at number 7. The Lions have clawed back in. Might be the largest comeback of all time, from 28 to 6.
That's right. You did have them in your
28 to 6. What a run by the Lions in just shy of 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks. Yep.
Way to go, Lions. That's how we do it. Maybe Dan Campbell watched my show. I talk about these coaches, and then off they go. Thanks for watching, man, Campbell. My top 5, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, soon to be out of the top 10. Here's hoping. Then I have the Bills at 4, the Colts at 3, probably the highest the Colts are going to see. The Chargers at 2, the Eagles at 1. Finally cracked my top 1 after they were going to anyway. I did not expect the Packers to then lose that game, so that just made it even easier.
Yeah, number 10, I have the Seahawks. Niners at number 9, Rams at 8, Bucks at 7. Colts get in my top 6, Packers at 5, Lions at 4. I think they were my biggest mover. They were up 5 spots. The Bills stay at 3, Eagles drop to 2, and man, I'm feeling it.
How about that Charger?
My Los Angeles Chargers, your new number 1 team in my rankings this week. So, I do have last week's. If we have any questions about Mike or EJ, Mike now gives me reasons for his. So if we have any questions about teams he has, but looking at it,
Bills. Did he give you a reason for the Bills?
Let me take a look here. So
I don't know 100% where he had them last week.
The Bills were 2 last week. So let's see here, Mike. Short week, handled business. That's fair against the divisional lineup. And he dropped the Eagles. Just they kind of had some struggles. Obviously they came back.
Always been struggles. The whole that's the problem.
Oh, right, and that's I
wouldn't put him at number 1 until they woke up. The guy refused to do it. I kept him at 2 behind a Packers team that I knew we were better than, and I had my reasons. And I was like, they're just not showing me yet. They're not waking up, and if they don't wake up soon, they're eventually going to fall. And I don't want them to fall out of 1. I'd rather them fall out of 2. And everybody else is like, oh, this is the best team. They're finding a way. They're doing a thing. And then, like, I get it. You come stumbling out of the gate, right? But it's not like the defense played poorly. We held them to 3 straight field goals, very important field goals. Blocked another one, and then in the second half, everything wakes up. The Eagles are alive. By the way, A.J. Brown last year against the Rams, 6 catches, 109 and a score. This year against the Rams, 6 catches, 109 and a score. Just thought that was an odd thing that happened in that game.
There you go.
But you dropped him too.
I dropped him from 1 to 2.
He dropped us for a Bills team that barely beat the Miami Dolphins. And I get it. McDaniel coached his best game, and the Bills were like, short week, whatever, blah, 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 short week. I'm not so sure that should matter. In that scenario.
So here's the deal. So I obviously he's not here to fully defend himself, but I'll defend.
Yeah, I'm not going to attack it entirely. I'm just
I'll defend my dropping the Eagles because I had them at 1 for the first 3 weeks. But again, it's the repeated, just not playing a 60-minute game, not being totally clean the whole way, just not looking like what I thought the Eagles were going to, to look like and be yet. Now, granted, obviously, plenty of season. We've seen them do this before, so more than enough time to get themselves back to number 1. And for the Chargers, I jumped them. They were actually my 4 last week. They jump up to 1, but the Packers came down. I didn't think the Bills did enough to move up for me. Because I thought they were going to win by 20 plus. And I sat here, I made fun of EJ last week for saying the Dolphins were going to make it competitive and the Browns were going to be frisky. And look, I got it wrong. And you know, the Bills, as good as they look,
had a very good pick.
He had a good week. He had a good week.
Out on his Twitter, on the Facebook, everywhere he goes, like he put his locks of the week, and they all were very good locks.
He was 2-8 in the first 2 weeks. He went 4-0 this week. So, but you know, so for me, when I look at the what the Chargers did against the Broncos, and you know, I get maybe the Broncos aren't as good of a team as the Rams, but when I look at what the Chargers did against the Broncos, come from behind victory, divisional victory, and the Eagles come from behind against the Rams. When I look at those two games,
winning that game at halftime, weren't they?
What's that?
I said I think the Chargers were winning that game at the half, right?
I don't recall, but it was at the very least it was
7 at the half. Chargers.
Yes, second half comeback. But when I look at the two games, to me, it feels like, and I get it's all cliche, but to me it felt more like the Rams lost more than the Eagles won. But it was the Chargers won that game. The Chargers, they were playing bad. They let a lead slip away, and they said, no, we're not going to lose this game. They come back and win. The Eagles, it felt like, not that they didn't earn it. I'm not saying that, but it felt it was as much about what the Rams failed to do than it did about what the Eagles did to win, if that makes sense. So that's why I moved them down this week. I decided to get a little bold, put my Chargers up there. I'm feeling good about them. You know, we're a happy Harbaugh household over here. Maybe that's
and I've been hearing a lot of that, like the Eagles, like, oh, you know, slow start, or like you didn't. I feel like one of the reasons I had the Eagles as my best of the week, a huge part of it was, I saw it less as like a tale of two halves kind of thing. I obviously it was, but I think it was a game that was won on all three phases of the game. It was a game where the offense came out, scored early. The first drive, you know, worked, and then you didn't have much drawn up after that. You know, obviously the game plan was let Saquon run through the Rams again, and the Rams were there they were ready for it. They were ready for Saquon. And then for a while, it felt very much like a Mike Tomlin coach team. That's like, this is what I drew up. It has to work, right? And it wasn't. And you know, in kind of like vintage Eagles fashion, almost Andy Reid-esque, adjustments at halftime. Now, they didn't have to make a lot of defensive adjustments. It's not like the Rams were lighting us up. Let's not forget that two of those scores were set up on short fields by just bonehead plays. And to come right out of the chute in the second half and give them another one was pretty excruciating. So to turn it around from there, and to block two kicks and to not give up and to like fight through, I thought it was when the Eagles offense woke up, I'm like, that's when they were lining up for the field goal before I even knew it was going to be blocked. I was like, even if we lose this game, this is where it turned. Like, I'm going to feel more confident going into Tampa Bay than I was coming into this game.
Sure.
Like, because now I know we can play, and we remembered that Jalen Hurts can throw. And then my favorite thing I saw today, I finally saw Jalen Hurts' reaction to the blocked kick. He's like standing on the sideline, his arms crossed, like he's not even like he's just. And then the kick goes. You can hear like Merrill Reese going nuts on the broadcast, and he just kind of goes, and just kind of nods his head and walks. Never even uncrosses his arms. Arms never went up.
It's all business,
People
man.
People are running by him, slapping him on the shoulder. He's just walking. He's like, well, all right, well, we dodged the bullet there, you know.
Right.
He's just stone cold. By the way, with that win, has now not lost a start in over a calendar year.
Wow.
The day, like the day that he did it, it became 300 and I think it's 367 or 368 days.
Damn. Okay.
Also, in the last calendar year, him, Saquon, and AJ Brown, when playing together, have not lost a game either.
There you go. There you go.
So,
go
Birds.
Obviously, you know, EJ not here to defend himself. But he had last week he had the Ravens at 3, Packers at 4, and I understand the Ravens had a more, you know, a loss by a wider margin. than the Packers did, but he dropped the Packers 1. He dropped the Ravens 3. The Ravens lost to a team who was in his top 10 last week.
Yep.
And the Packers lost to a Browns team that wasn't
Maybe
in his bottom 5, but wasn't in his top 10.
Maybe it's because EJ saw the Browns coming, so he wasn't surprised.
Maybe
he was
maybe
surprised
it
the
didn't
Packers
shock him.
didn't. I don't know.
But
I feel like I just kind of botched up putting the 49ers not in there. I feel like I probably should have gone Niners.
No,
like Seahawks 9, Niners 10. I feel like the Seahawks are a better team than the 49ers.
I think they are too. I gave the
but
Niners.
I should have done what you did. Maybe just unloaded the Vikings. But I don't know, to do what they did with a backup quarterback and basically doing that with the other two phases of the ball. I didn't want to not put the Vikings in.
But if we're being honest, between now EJ has the Colts. Has the Colts as his 9. He doesn't have Seattle or the Vikings in. But he, between you, me, and Mike, we have a combination of Minnesota, San Francisco, and Seattle.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty fair because
I know the 49ers didn't make, but they would be like at 11. Like if I kept my list where it is, the 49ers were in a discussion for like 8 through 11, like somewhere in there.
But as I was trying to say, when you're looking at the NFL, I think your top 2, top 3. Now, granted, you have the Colts up there.
I think the Colts are for real.
I think they are too, but I do want to see a little bit more before I get them.
I also may have punished the Bills here for not.
And that's fair. But we every year we start talking about the tiers, and I think your top 3, 4 teams are probably pretty close. Then you get that middle 4. So once you pass number 8, there's just kind of that 3, maybe a 4th team sneaks their way in there of these teams week to week might be here. So I gave the Niners the nod. They're without a lot of players, and they're still finding ways to win games. Maybe not against the best competition. It's a huge hit. It's a huge hit. But they are they're still currently undefeated. They were ahead of the but I don't dislike the Vikings being in there above them. I don't dislike Mike having the Vikings in and not the Seahawks. I think it's
right.
There's that grouping.
They're probably all in a similar tier. And one thing I've started to notice about my list, and I was kind of looking at them as last year's, is as the season goes along, I think subconsciously I start to believe in defense. The teams that start to rise to the top are the teams that it's not the ones scoring all the points. It's not the ones with the best quarterbacks. It's the ones that are just preventing you from doing anything. And so you're going to probably see the Lions. I would assume you're going to see the Lions continue to rise here. And
sure.
And to be honest, the only thing I have to say about the Colts over the Bills that would be obviously Daniel Jones is not Josh Allen.
No.
But I'm not sure the Bills have a Michael Pittman. And I know they don't have a Jonathan Taylor. You can say everything you want about James Cook. James Cook looks good, but I don't think he's a Jonathan Taylor. And for me on the defensive side of the ball, you can still sell me on this team's got to play the Bills defense. I'm not so sure
they stink.
That's a thing.
Bills defense isn't good.
Josh Allen is going to have to play Joe Burrow football. Now, given he has a little bit better offensive line, and by a little, I mean he actually has one. So, that's good. But he's going to have to score points every week because that defense is not going to stop teams from scoring. The only thing they have as an advantage is that when it gets cold, that home field advantage may help stop teams some. But man, it hasn't looked good so far. They if Tua doesn't throw a pass without looking at a safety, Dolphins might just go down and score on that drive. So I'm not sure I believe in the Bills' record entirely, but it's there, and so I'll keep my top 4. And if they,
here's the deal, man. The Bills are about in the middle of the pack in terms of points given up. Now, granted, they did only surrender 10 to the Jets, so let's keep that in mind.
Right. Is that the game that Fields got hurt?
I believe so.
I think so. So that helps.
But these are the teams, the teams in the NFL who have given up more points than the Bills. Raiders, Steelers, Lions, Giants, Saints, Bengals, Cowboys, Bears, Jets, Titans, Ravens, Dolphins. Outside
Ravens
of
and Lions on that list is insane.
Right. I mean,
that's two other teams that shouldn't be giving up points, right?
No. Now granted, I think they gave up a little bit of junk time last night. But you know, the Lions are basically giving up around 20-ish points a week. But I think as they settle in with the new coordinator, I think that number is going to start coming down. I don't have that confidence in the Ravens. But the rest
the Ravens
of these
and Bills are in very similar defensive situations.
The rest of the teams in this group are bad teams, bad defenses. So you know, yeah, I'm not sold on the Bills defensively. Offensively, they're fine, they're really good. But yeah, I'm not sold on them.
And when you're talking about two franchises that over the recent history have been able to get there and people can't figure out why they're not getting over the hump. If they don't this year, at least we know why.
Correct. Anything else from the power rankings, Sean?
No, I think it's fun. I think it's I enjoy doing the power rankings. It's stressful at some weeks trying to what's everyone going to think if I don't put this team, and then you realize nobody really
we don't know
cares. You get a little flack, you throw a defensive thing back, and they're like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah, we don't know anything anyway.